Okay. Hi everybody, I'm Karen Sternheimer. I'm here today with Kristen Barber. Kristen is the author of a new book called Narrating the Storm, Sociological Stories of Hurricane Katrina. And so, Kristen, tell us a little bit about how you got interested in writing about Katrina.
Sure. Well, I was actually a graduate student at Tulane University in sociology, and experienced and evacuated for the storm. And coming back to New Orleans about 6 months later, we had a Southern Sociology Society meeting, and my friend, colleague Danielle Hidalgo, my co-editor, she put together a panel, and she was interested in people talking about their experiences with Hurricane Katrina in a way that was sociologically compelling. So talking about your experience with evacuation and exile, and what it was like to return home, and what it was like to experience this sort of new normal in New Orleans, but talk about what was most sociologically salient about that experience.
And so what do you think, for many sociology students, what can sociology teach us about Hurricane Katrina?
Oh, well, every story that we have in the book talks about people's own personal experiences, and I think it shows us that the personal isn't so personal. And so every author and contributor in here is talking about something that they experienced, but they talk about how race or how class or how gender, bureaucracy, collective memory, things like that shape our experiences with disaster.
Okay, so if students had to learn one thing, what can we learn about Katrina? What does that tell us, do you think, about the American experience, or?
Oh, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think that basically what we can learn about Katrina is that it's a sociological, it's a social consequence. It's not just a natural disaster, but it's actually a historical disaster. It's imbued with racial history and class and gender and sort of local and larger government processes, and how these things, how those governments react to particular people, and how when someone experiences a natural disaster, how the social also influences that.
Yeah, and I think too, one of the things that's interesting is that the disaster that we think of as a natural disaster was met with many human disasters that are maybe unique to that region, or unique to some of the challenges within New Orleans.
Right. So we have one author in here, Carl Bankston, who talks about having evacuated and experienced the storm, eating a hot dog and drinking a beer while watching it from television. But then we have it juxtaposed with a chapter from Ruth Itakula, who was a poor black single mother in New Orleans, and how that sort of shaped her choices and her options, and how she ended up at the Superdome.
And do you have other stories from people at the Superdome, and people who evacuated to Houston through the Superdome? Or?
Yeah, well, she's the only one we have from the Superdome, but we also have people who evacuated to Houston and to Corpus Christi, Texas. And we also have stories about people who were on the receiving end, who sort of volunteered and things like that. So
great.
Yeah.
Well, thank you, Kristen, for sharing your insight with us. And we will have a link to the book for people who want to learn more. So that's all for now.